The courtroom buzzed quietly as people filled every seat, waiting for the hearing to begin. A teenage girl sat confidently at the defendant's table, wearing a careless smirk that caught everyone's attention. She leaned back casually, whispering jokes to her friend beside her, showing little concern for the serious charges against her. The judge had not yet entered, but her relaxed attitude suggested she believed the outcome was already in her favor. Her lawyer tried to discuss the case quietly, yet she barely listened. The atmosphere carried tension as court officers watched her behavior carefully, sensing her confidence might soon be tested. When the judge finally entered, the entire courtroom stood respectfully, except the teenager, who rose slowly and rolled her eyes slightly. The judge noticed her attitude immediately, but remained calm and professional. After everyone settled, the case details were read aloud, describing reckless driving, public disturbance, and ignoring prior warnings from authorities. The teenager continued smiling, occasionally whispering to her friend, showing no sign of fear or regret. The prosecutor presented evidence showing repeated offenses over several months. Despite the growing seriousness of the situation, the girl maintained her confident expression, believing her young age and clean family background would protect her from harsh consequences. The judge requested the teenager to step forward and confirm her identity. She walked casually toward the stand, chewing gum openly, which instantly annoyed several people inside the courtroom. The judge asked her politely to remove the gum, and she slowly obeyed while laughing quietly. Her lack of seriousness shocked observers, including her parents, who sat nervously behind her. The judge carefully reviewed her record, noticing multiple warnings given earlier by local authorities. The prosecutor explained how her reckless driving had nearly caused several accidents. Still, the teenager shrugged, appearing unconcerned, as if she believed the court hearing was merely an inconvenience rather than a serious legal moment. The prosecutor then presented video footage captured by traffic cameras showing the teenager speeding through crowded streets. Gasps spread throughout the courtroom as the footage showed pedestrians barely avoiding collisions. The judge watched carefully, maintaining a calm expression but taking detailed notes. When asked about the footage, the teenager smiled and claimed she was simply enjoying herself with friends. Her response caused murmurs among observers. The judge reminded her that reckless behavior could seriously harm innocent people. Despite the warning tone, she responded with sarcasm, stating she had never caused an accident. Her careless words made the courtroom atmosphere grow heavier with growing disappointment. Her defense lawyer attempted to soften the situation by explaining she came from a respectable family and had strong academic performance. He argued she was simply immature and needed guidance rather than punishment. The teenager nodded proudly, convinced her lawyer's words would influence the judge. The prosecutor quickly responded by highlighting her repeated disregard for previous warnings and community safety. The judge listened silently, occasionally glancing toward the teenager, observing her expressions. While her parents appeared embarrassed and worried, the teenager remained confident. She whispered something to her friend and laughed quietly, showing she still believed the court would eventually release her without serious penalties. The judge asked the teenager directly if she understood the seriousness of her actions. She responded casually, saying she believed people were exaggerating the situation. The courtroom became silent, with many observers surprised by her honesty. The judge leaned forward slightly and explained how reckless driving could destroy lives permanently. The teenager shrugged and said she had always been lucky and never faced real consequences before. Her response made her parents visibly upset, with her mother wiping tears quietly. The judge paused for a moment, studying her behavior carefully, as if evaluating not only the case but also her mindset toward responsibility. The prosecutor then presented testimony from a local shop owner who described a frightening incident involving the teenager's vehicle nearly crashing into his store entrance. The shop owner spoke emotionally, explaining how customers ran for safety during the moment. The courtroom listened carefully, with several observers shaking their heads disapprovingly. The teenager listened quietly, but continued smiling slightly, which angered some audience members. The judge thanked the witness and turned attention back to the teenager. He asked her if she remembered the incident, and she admitted it happened, but claimed it was accidental. Her dismissive tone suggested she still believed her actions carried minimal seriousness. The defense lawyer requested leniency, explaining she had recently started attending counseling and promised improved behavior. He emphasized her young age, arguing she deserved another opportunity to correct her mistakes. The teenager nodded proudly, assuming the judge would accept the argument. The prosecutor quickly responded, stating she had received multiple opportunities before and failed each time. The judge reviewed documents showing warnings, fines, and mandatory safety classes previously assigned to her. Each record showed temporary improvement followed by repeated violations. The courtroom atmosphere became extremely tense as everyone sensed the judge was carefully considering whether patience had finally reached its limit. The judge asked the teenager's parents to stand and share their perspective. Her father spoke nervously, explaining they had tried to discipline her but struggled to control her behavior. Her mother tearfully apologized to the court and community, expressing fear that her daughter might eventually harm herself or others. The teenager looked slightly uncomfortable hearing her parents speak emotionally, but quickly regained her confident posture. The judge thanked them and reminded them that parental guidance was important but could not replace personal accountability. The courtroom remained silent, understanding the case had moved beyond simple teenage mistakes towards serious public safety concerns. The judge announced a short recess to review all presented evidence and testimonies carefully. As officers escorted the teenager back to her seat, she whispered to her friend, joking about leaving the courthouse soon. Her confidence remained strong, believing her lawyer's arguments and family support guaranteed freedom. Meanwhile, her parents sat quietly, visibly worried about the judge's decision. Observers discussed the case softly, many expressing concern about her attitude. The prosecutor reviewed final notes, preparing for the judge's return. The tension in the courtroom grew stronger as everyone sensed the upcoming decision might completely change the teenager's confident expectations. After the recess ended, the judge returned with a composed expression, signaling everyone to stand before resuming proceedings. The courtroom became silent instantly as all attention shifted toward the bench. The teenager sat casually again, whispering confidently that everything would work out. Her lawyer organized papers, appearing slightly tense, while the prosecutor waited calmly. The judge began reviewing key evidence once more, summarizing earlier testimonies. Each detail reminded the courtroom of the risks caused by her reckless behavior. The teenager listened but maintained her smirk, convinced that the legal process was moving toward a predictable and comfortable outcome for her situation. The judge asked the prosecutor if any additional evidence remained before final statements. The prosecutor introduced written complaints submitted by several community members. These statements described repeated late-night racing, loud disturbances, and dangerous driving patterns involving the teenager. The courtroom reacted with visible concern as each complaint highlighted fear experienced by local residents. The teenager rolled her eyes slightly, showing irritation rather than concern. Her lawyer attempted to object, arguing that some complaints were emotional rather than factual. The judge accepted the statements as supporting background information, reminding everyone that community safety was a central factor when evaluating repeated public endangerment cases. The judge then allowed the defense lawyer to present a final statement. He spoke carefully, emphasizing that teenage years often include poor decision-making and emotional impulsivity. He argued that harsh punishment could negatively affect her education and mental development. He requested community service instead of severe sentencing, suggesting it would teach responsibility while allowing her to continue school. The teenager smiled proudly during the statement, occasionally nodding as if victory was certain. Her parents watched nervously, hoping the judge would show sympathy. The courtroom remained quiet, waiting to see whether the defense argument would influence the judge's final perspective. The prosecutor delivered his final statement with calm authority. He explained that while youth deserves understanding, repeated dangerous actions require accountability. He reminded the court that previous warnings, fines, and educational programs had failed to change her behavior. He emphasized that reckless driving placed innocent lives in serious danger, which could not be ignored. He respectfully requested strict consequences to protect public safety and prevent future incidents. The teenager's confident expression faded slightly for the first time. Observers noticed her shifting posture, suggesting she sensed the case might not end as easily as she originally believed earlier. The judge turned toward the teenager and offered her a final opportunity to speak before sentencing. She stood slowly, adjusting her jacket, and spoke casually. She admitted breaking rules, but insisted she never intended to harm anyone. She stated she believed the situation had been exaggerated by authorities. Her tone lacked regret, which surprised many observers. Her parents lowered their heads, clearly disappointed. The judge listened carefully, without interruption. When she finished, the courtroom remained silent, waiting for any sign of remorse or responsibility. But her relaxed attitude suggested she still underestimated the seriousness of the moment. The judge paused for several seconds, reviewing notes and reflecting deeply. Then he began speaking calmly about the importance of responsibility and consequences. He explained that society relies on individuals respecting safety laws to protect everyone equally. He described how reckless behavior often leads to irreversible tragedies affecting families and entire communities. The teenager shifted uncomfortably, sensing the direction of the judge's message. Observers leaned forward, recognizing the emotional weight of his words. Her lawyer quietly whispered advice, encouraging her to show respect. However, her uncertain expression suggested she was realizing that her earlier confidence might have been dangerously misplaced. The judge described previous cases involving young drivers whose careless actions caused permanent harm. He explained how one moment of poor judgment could destroy multiple lives. The courtroom listened attentively, with many reflecting on the seriousness of such situations. The teenager avoided eye contact, appearing slightly nervous for the first time during the hearing. Her parents held hands tightly, clearly fearing what came next. The prosecutor remained silent, allowing the judge to continue uninterrupted. The atmosphere became heavy with emotional intensity as the judge prepared to deliver a lesson that extended far beyond simple legal punishment. The judge acknowledged the teenager's academic achievements and supportive family background, recognizing her potential for success. He explained that privilege and opportunity also bring greater responsibility toward society. He stated that ignoring repeated warnings showed a troubling pattern of disregard for safety and authority. The teenager listened quietly, her earlier smirk completely gone. Observers noticed her expression changing toward anxiety and realization. Her lawyer placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, though his own worried expression revealed uncertainty. The courtroom felt tense as everyone sensed the judge was carefully balancing compassion with the need for strong accountability. The judge finally prepared to deliver sentencing, asking everyone to remain silent and respectful. The courtroom froze in complete stillness. The teenager stood before the bench, her hands slightly shaking despite attempts to remain calm. Her parents watched with emotional anxiety, knowing this moment could permanently shape her future. The judge reviewed final legal references and confirmed all procedures had been followed correctly. The prosecutor and defense lawyer both stood quietly, ready to accept the decision. The atmosphere felt extremely heavy as the teenager realized she was about to hear words that could completely change her confident expectations and personal direction. As the hearing officially ended, the teenager stood quietly while court officers guided her toward the processing area. Her earlier confidence was completely gone, replaced by emotional exhaustion. Her lawyer spoke softly, explaining the next legal steps and reminding her to follow every requirement carefully. She nodded silently, realizing her life had taken an unexpected turn. Her parents approached slowly, unsure how to comfort her. The courtroom began emptying, with observers discussing the strong lesson delivered during sentencing. The teenager avoided eye contact with anyone, feeling the heavy reality of her punishment settling deeply into her thoughts. Outside the courtroom, her parents hugged her tightly, showing both relief and sadness. Her mother spoke gently, encouraging her to treat the sentence as an opportunity for change rather than a permanent failure. Her father reminded her that mistakes can teach valuable life lessons if taken seriously. The teenager cried quietly, apologizing for ignoring their advice earlier. Her lawyer joined them briefly, explaining probation requirements and emphasizing strict compliance. He warned that even minor violations could create serious legal problems. The teenager listened carefully, showing a level of seriousness that had been completely missing during the courtroom hearing earlier. Over the next few days, the teenager began attending required counseling sessions. The counselor encouraged her to discuss her behavior honestly and explore reasons behind her reckless decisions. At first, she spoke defensively, blaming peer pressure and excitement. However, as sessions continued, she slowly began recognizing her personal responsibility. The counselor explained how thrill-seeking behavior often hides deeper emotional struggles or desire for attention. The teenager listened carefully, beginning to reflect on her choices more deeply. For the first time, she considered how her actions could have permanently harmed innocent people and destroyed her own future opportunities. Her community service placement began at a rehabilitation center for traffic accident victims. On her first day, she felt extremely nervous walking through the facility. She met individuals recovering from severe injuries caused by reckless driving accidents. Some patients shared emotional stories, describing how a single careless moment changed their entire lives. Listening to these stories deeply affected her, forcing her to confront consequences she had previously ignored. She struggled emotionally, realizing how close she had come to causing similar tragedies. The experience began transforming her perspective about responsibility, safety, and respect for others' lives. During one service session, she assisted a young accident survivor learning to walk again after severe injuries. The survivor explained how his dreams and career plans were permanently changed due to someone's reckless driving. His calm and forgiving attitude shocked her deeply. She apologized sincerely, even though she was not responsible for his accident. He encouraged her to use her experience to help others avoid similar mistakes. That moment created a powerful emotional shift within her mindset. She began understanding that her punishment was not only about discipline, but also about developing empathy and personal accountability. Meanwhile, her school administration became aware of her legal situation. They required regular academic progress reports and behavioral monitoring as part of her probation agreement. Teachers observed her carefully, noticing major changes in her attitude. She became quieter, more focused, and avoided disruptive behavior. Some classmates initially judged her harshly, while others showed support and encouragement. She struggled emotionally, but remained committed to improving her behavior. Her academic performance slowly improved, reflecting her determination to rebuild her reputation. She began understanding how quickly careless actions could damage trust built over many years. Her counseling sessions continued focusing on decision-making skills and emotional control. The counselor introduced exercises designed to help her pause and evaluate risks before acting impulsively. She practiced analyzing situations from different perspectives, especially considering how her actions could affect others. These exercises gradually strengthened her emotional maturity. She admitted feeling embarrassed remembering her courtroom behavior and careless attitude. The counselor encouraged her to accept past mistakes without allowing them to define her entire identity. This balanced approach helped her develop confidence based on responsibility rather than reckless thrill-seeking behavior. Several months into probation, she was invited to speak at a local youth safety program. At first, she felt terrified sharing her story publicly. However, she accepted the invitation, believing it could help prevent others from repeating her mistakes. She described her courtroom experience honestly, explaining how her overconfidence nearly destroyed her future. Students listened attentively, surprised by her honesty and emotional vulnerability. After the presentation, several teenagers approached her privately, admitting they often engaged in similar reckless behavior. She realized her experience could positively influence others, giving deeper meaning to her difficult journey. Her parents noticed significant improvement in her behavior and emotional maturity. Family relationships became stronger as communication improved between them. They began spending more time together discussing goals, responsibilities, and future planning. Her father started teaching her defensive driving theory, even though she was not allowed to drive yet. Her mother supported her counseling progress and encouraged healthy stress management activities. The teenager appreciated their support more deeply than ever before. She realized how close she had come to permanently damaging family trust and opportunities. Their renewed relationship strengthened her commitment towards long-term personal growth. As her probation progressed successfully, regular court review meetings monitored her improvement. Reports from counselors, teachers, and community supervisors confirmed her behavioral transformation. During one review hearing, the judge acknowledged her dedication and progress, encouraging her to continue improving. She thanked the judge respectfully, showing maturity and gratitude. Observers noticed her calm confidence, completely different from her earlier careless attitude. The judge reminded her that true success comes from consistent, responsible behavior. Leaving the courtroom that day, she felt hopeful, determined to complete probation successfully and rebuild her future through discipline, respect, and thoughtful decision-making. As probation continued, the teenager remained committed to completing every requirement without mistakes. She carefully managed her schedule, balancing schoolwork, counseling sessions, and community service responsibilities. The structured routine helped her develop discipline she had never practiced before. Her supervisors noticed her punctuality and willingness to accept extra responsibilities. She often volunteered to assist new patients at the rehabilitation center, showing compassion and patience. The transformation surprised many people who remembered her earlier careless behavior. Slowly, she began earning respect from those around her, proving that genuine effort could gradually repair damaged trust and reputation. Her final counseling sessions focused on long-term goal planning and emotional resilience. The counselor encouraged her to create clear future objectives, including academic success and safe lifestyle choices. She expressed interest in studying public safety or counseling, inspired by her experiences during probation. The counselor praised her growth, explaining that learning from mistakes often builds stronger character. She realized that her legal consequences had unexpectedly opened new career possibilities. This realization gave her renewed motivation to maintain responsible behavior even after probation ended. She began seeing her past mistakes as lessons rather than permanent failures. During her last community service project, she helped organize a public awareness event focused on traffic safety. She spoke confidently about her personal journey, describing how one careless attitude nearly destroyed her future. Families, students, and community leaders attended the event, listening carefully to her story. Many audience members appreciated her honesty and courage. After the event, local officials thanked her for contributing positively to public safety awareness. She felt proud knowing her difficult experiences were helping protect others. This moment reinforced her belief that personal growth can create positive influence within society. Her school recognized her behavioral improvement and academic dedication by allowing her to participate in leadership activities. She joined a student mentoring program, helping younger students understand responsibility and decision-making. Sharing her experiences allowed her to connect with students facing similar challenges. Teachers noticed her strong communication skills and emotional maturity. She developed confidence built on accountability rather than reckless behavior. Her classmates began respecting her honesty and determination. The teenager realized that rebuilding reputation requires patience, consistency, and willingness to accept past mistakes openly without making excuses or avoiding responsibility. As the probation completion date approached, she prepared carefully for her final court review. She gathered progress reports from counselors, teachers, and community supervisors, all describing her transformation positively. Despite strong reports, she still felt nervous, remembering her first courtroom experience. Her parents reassured her, expressing pride in her growth and maturity. She spent time reflecting on how dramatically her life had changed during probation. Instead of fearing consequences, she now focused on maintaining responsible habits. She understood that completing probation successfully would not erase her past, but would prove her commitment to personal growth. On the day of her final review hearing, she entered the courtroom respectfully and calmly. The atmosphere felt completely different from her first appearance. She stood confidently, showing maturity and seriousness. The judge reviewed detailed progress reports and listened carefully as counselors described her improvement. The prosecutor acknowledged her consistent cooperation and responsible behavior throughout probation. The courtroom atmosphere remained positive, recognizing her transformation. The teenager waited quietly, understanding that this moment represented both closure and a new beginning. Her parents sat proudly behind her, emotionally relieved seeing her growth and responsible attitude. The judge addressed her directly, praising her dedication, honesty, and commitment to personal improvement. He explained that true character is revealed through actions taken after mistakes occur. He officially announced successful completion of probation requirements, restoring certain privileges and clearing major legal restrictions. The teenager smiled emotionally, thanking the judge respectfully. Observers in the courtroom appreciated the positive outcome, recognizing the importance of second chances combined with accountability. Her parents hugged each other quietly, relieved and proud. The moment symbolized how responsible effort can transform difficult consequences into powerful personal growth opportunities. After leaving the courthouse, she spoke privately with her parents and lawyer, thanking them for their support during her difficult journey. Her lawyer reminded her that legal success must be supported by continued responsible behavior. She promised to maintain discipline and focus on her future goals. Her parents expressed pride in her maturity and emotional strength. She realized that their support had been essential during her transformation. Walking away from the courthouse, she felt lighter, but also deeply aware of the responsibility she carried moving forward. Her experience had permanently changed her understanding of consequences and accountability. Months later, she successfully regained limited driving privileges under strict safety monitoring. She approached driving carefully, respecting every traffic law and safety guideline. Each time she sat behind the wheel, she remembered stories from accident survivors and lessons learned during counseling. Driving was no longer a thrill-seeking activity, but a responsibility requiring constant attention. Her friends noticed her cautious behavior and often asked for advice about safe driving. She shared her experiences openly, hoping to prevent others from repeating her mistakes. Her transformation became an example of how accountability can reshape personal habits permanently. Looking back at her courtroom experience, she understood how close she had come to permanently damaging her future. The judge's strong sentence had forced her to confront uncomfortable truths and rebuild her character through discipline and empathy. She continued participating in community safety programs, helping educate young drivers about responsibility. Her story became a reminder that confidence without accountability can lead to serious consequences. However, her journey also demonstrated that sincere effort, family support, and structured guidance can create meaningful personal transformation. Her life moved forward with purpose, responsibility, and deep appreciation for second chances.